Well, good afternoon. Thank you. Buenas tardes. Pura vida, como dicen nuestros amigos y colegas de Costa Rica. Your Excellency, Rodrigo Chaves Robles, President of Costa Rica, Mr. Arnoldo André, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Costa Rica, Mr. Manuel Tovar, Minister of Foreign Trade of Costa Rica, Ambassador Pablo Bogantes, Minister of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications of Costa Rica, Ambassador Catalina Crespo, Ambassador of Costa Rica to the United States, Ambassador of the United States to Costa Rica. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. On behalf of the Center for Cybersecurity Policy and Law and our colleagues at Venable, it's an honor to host you here today for this conversation about cybersecurity. Costa Rica has been definitely on the center stage on cyber and digital issues over the past months, and as I personally mentioned to President Chaves a few weeks ago, it's incredible and it's an honor to have a leader, a global leader, so involved with cyber and digital issues. I mentioned in private, but I'm glad to mention in public, we need more leaders like you that understand cyber and digital issues. Also, I want to say something. I was talking with a former minister of Costa Rica the other day, and he or she, I don't want to say, he or she was telling me, you know, we may have certain differences with the government, but this president, we have an opportunity. This president is right now the most engaged on cyber and digital issues. And this is an opportunity for the country. And I know that minister is right now watching online. So I just want to say that this is something that is recognized in your country, but it's actually recognized, of course, all over the region. Based on that recognition, we had the honor to have Minister Bogantes a couple of weeks ago in Madrid at our Latam CISO Summit that was hosted by Telefonica. That was the second edition. The first one took place in Washington. And you know, we had this conversation. This was an event or an initiative that is hosted, or this was organized by the Americas Alliance. Started in DC 2 years ago, or last year, sorry. Convened by over a dozen of multinationals. And we actually agreed that next year it should take place in Costa Rica. With Minister Bogantes, we say, you know, after that conversation, that private conversation, and he says, we need to take advantage of the leadership of President Chaves, of the leadership of Minister Bogantes, and we need to spread that engagement to other regional leaders. I was actually mentioned yesterday at a chamber event. We would like also to invite you, Mr. President, to convey other leaders to work with nations and companies that share democratic values that the Americas share, which is of huge importance. This is not only a technology issue, but this is, you know, something that touches the people, and at the end, technology used by the citizens. And I hope that you can help us convey that message across other leaders through the hemisphere and the world. I think has been clear the support that the United States has gave to Costa Rica. You have received a lot of funding. It's all over the news. I don't think you need to, that's more explicit. The good news is also, we reach out also to our colleagues at the EU, and we have a short but explicit video from the head of Latin America at the EU about this activity, and we wanted to share with you. Oh, I don't know if we can, my tech support can help me. This one? Oh.
Buenos días o buenas noches desde Europa. Es para mí un placer, señor presidente, excelencia don Rodrigo Chávez, querida ministra Paula Bogantes, Belisario Contreras, desde la Comisión Europea, Félix Fernández Shaw, el director para América Latina y el Caribe. Yo considero un honor estar hoy aquí, después de que en julio, en la cumbre Unión Europea-CELAC, unos cuantos países de América Latina, el Caribe y de la Unión Europea firmaran la alianza digital entre la Unión Europea y América Latina y el Caribe. Somos dos regiones que tenemos una visión muy parecida del mundo, y en esa alianza digital, cuya primera reunión va a tener lugar ahora en Cartagena de Indias en noviembre, uno de los temas que nos pareció tan importante y vital es la ciberseguridad. Y por supuesto, no me parece mi lugar explicar a Costa Rica por qué esto es importante, pero sí, desde luego, señalar que he coincidido con Paula Bogantes en Madrid, en la segunda reunión LATAM-CISO, donde hemos puesto en común tantas cosas, tantas cuestiones vitales, interesantes, fundamentales para la buena marcha de nuestras sociedades modernas, aquellas que quieren trabajar y poner la tecnología al servicio de las personas y no al revés. Y por eso la ciberseguridad y la cumbre, la reunión LATAM-CISO es tan importante. Nosotros, desde la Unión Europea, seguimos intentando empujar e impulsar los trabajos birregionales en este sentido, y evidentemente Costa Rica, no solamente por la experiencia que ha tenido, sino por la rapidez y el impulso político que está dando a subsanar los distintos problemas que le han acontecido, pensamos que Costa Rica es un guía, un líder en este sentido en la región, y por tanto pensamos también y aplaudimos la decisión de celebrar una tercera reunión LATAM-CISO en Costa Rica y apadrinada por el Gobierno de Costa Rica. Para la Comisión Europea, evidentemente, se trata de un paso significativo en este tema, y obviamente con todos nuestros medios y los de los Estados miembros estamos a la disposición del continente latinoamericano y del Caribe, pero también de Costa Rica, para impulsar los trabajos en este campo tan importante de nuestras sociedades en el futuro, en el siglo XXI. Muchísimas gracias y buenas reuniones.
Just FYI, we're still defining the date, and apologies, it's still in Spanish, but basically, I think it's the EU supporting the Costa Rican efforts, and the initiative most likely will take place around September or October, and hopefully, actually, this will support other regional or global agendas like the G20 that is actually taking place in Brazil in November. So again, I think we're positive that it's going to be an important meeting over there. With that, I think those are positive news. We would like to continue with an engaging conversation I would like to invite Minister Paula Bogantes, Minister of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications of Costa Rica, and Mr. Brett DeWitt, Vice President of Global Cyber Technology and Policy at MasterCard, to have a conversation about the strategic role of digital security for socioeconomic development. Thank you both for joining us this afternoon. Just testing this. Does this work? No way. Let's try this. Yeah. You hear me now? Good. Try to use the microphone.
Did you switch it on?
It's lights out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You hear me now?
Yes.
All right. First off, thank you, Billy, so much for having us here today. And Mr. President and Minister Bogantes, it is an honor for you to join us for this really special occasion. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Brett DeWitt. I lead our global cybersecurity public policy team at MasterCard, and just really an honor to be here to interview you and to hear all about the amazing initiatives that you have underway in Costa Rica right now. And so we'll get into that. Events like this, where we can come together, discuss ways to strengthen our cybersecurity and build strong public-private partnerships to advance our shared goals is just really so valuable. As a global organization at MasterCard, really understand the importance of working with governments, NGOs, and others in the private sector to enhance our shared security and our digital economy. Building a digital economy that is secure, inclusive, and innovative is really core to our collective mission and what I think we're all here trying to achieve. This is what part at MasterCard guides our efforts to bring a total of 1 billion people and 50 million micro and small businesses into the digital economy by 2025. It is also why MasterCard has invested over $7 billion in the last 5 years in cybersecurity and in the advancement of emerging technologies like quantum and AI. As we work together to enable digital inclusion and bring people into the digital economy, it is important that we do so with security built in and in mind. It's essential for how we do this and ensure safety and soundness of the digital economy. And that's why I'm very thrilled to be here with Minister of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications, Paula Bogantes, for a conversation on the strategic role of digital security for social economic development and really the importance of investing in cyber capacity building. So with that, Mr. Bogantes, we'll get right into the questions. Kind of to kick things off, I'd love to hear from you on how can nations ensure that digital security frameworks promote inclusivity and equality in social economic benefits?
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Belisario, for putting together this event. So as you mentioned, cybersecurity, and I'm going to say digital transformation for this administration is key. We are in the process of transforming or digitally transforming the government of Costa Rica. And some of the aspects that we are definitely putting on the table when thinking about all the initiatives that we're running is universal access. We have to make sure that every Costa Rican has access to all these initiatives that we're putting together. For example, we're talking about the digital citizen. This is the base for any digital transformation. We have to start with having a digital citizen. Some of the things that we're looking at digital citizen, as I said, not just access to every Costa Rican, but also security. So we're looking at blockchain. So we put the program together based on blockchain so we can secure the data and we can give traceability to the data. We're also looking at digital education. One thing is for you to give the access to the service or to digitally transform the service. But what if Costa Ricans don't know how to use it? So education on Costa Ricans, not just to reduce the digital gap, but also to teach them. Well, this is what we're doing. We're working on interoperability, connecting institutions into one platform. So as I like to say, the Costa Ricans don't have to go and chase the service. The service will be accessible to Costa Ricans in a very easy form, if you will. Data protection. We're embarking, as Belisario was saying, cybersecurity is key for us. The security of the data is key for us, not just looking from a government point of view or an institution point of view, but the citizen, the data of Costa Ricans has to be secure. We're also transitioning from 4G to 5G. And one of the very important aspects that we're looking at is the highway, as I call it, that 5G highway has to be secure. That's where all data runs. So we're increasing the cybersecurity standards on 5G to make sure that again, the data is protected and the security of Costa Rica is protected. Diverse participation, this is also very important for us because that's where you can have inequality on analyzing the data. So we're also looking at when putting together these initiatives, not only the regular, I'm gonna say quote unquote, regular Costa Rican has to have access, but the old generation. This is a very important challenge for many reasons. But you know, the seniors have to also have access to the services. So at the end of the day, we governments can analyze the data and make sure that they were also included. Kids too, you know, as I said, people from rural areas, rural connectivity. This is also a very important aspect and challenge for us. We have the mobile connectivity in Costa Rica is very high, over 80%. But the fiber optics, this is a challenge that we have, and we're making sure when launching 5G that we're also tackling rural areas, that connectivity is available for everyone in Costa Rica's territory. Multi-sectoral collaboration, very important. We've been very successful at attracting foreign direct investment. We have companies in Costa Rica of the likes of IBM, Amazon, MasterCard, Intel, et cetera, et cetera. It's over 150 companies. So why wouldn't we leverage from their operations in Costa Rica? These companies are the ones that are driving technology. They're the innovators of technology. And the governments, especially nowadays, we are running behind technology. We have been for a while. And especially now with AI, you know, the distance between the government's reaction and the technology can widen. So what we're doing is we're talking to them and making sure that from their experience within their institutions or other nations, how can we leverage their knowledge to our benefit?
Yeah, I will say that too. I know the amount of multi-stakeholder engagement that Costa Rica has had through its development of its new national cyber strategy, and just the amount of engagement that you bring in across academia, the private sector, leveraging expertise and knowledge. You know, there's a lot. You know, we're in this together. Everyone has a part of this shared responsibility, and we're all trying to achieve those same objectives, but together we can do so. And just recognize the amount of collaboration that Costa Rica has had in its partnerships, and as you look to the future for your cyber strategy, so it's recognized. Going kind of some of the questions here, you know, you talked about a lot of the challenges about closing the digital divide. So what are the challenges and opportunities that arise in maintaining the secure and inclusive digital environment as Costa Rica does seek to close the digital divide? What are your current experiences, and then what do you see are challenges and opportunities on the horizon?
Well, one challenge, as I said, is connectivity. We have to make sure that everybody has access to the internet, and cost also is another challenge. I like to say that internet should look as an essential service to all of us, you know, not just for houses to be able to have water services or electricity. Internet now has become an essential part of our lives. When the light goes off, you're not wondering the meat is gonna go bad, the one that I have in the refrigerator. You're thinking, I don't have access to my data on my cell phone, or my cell phone is gonna run out of battery. So internet connectivity across the country is one of the challenges and that we are looking at right now or facing. Education and awareness, as I said, not only one thing is for a region to have connectivity, and the other one is for the inhabitants of that region to take advantage of connectivity. So education has to be one. Data protection, as I said, awareness. Every citizen has to safeguard their data as if it was their savings account at a bank. You know, they say data nowadays is the new oil, and that's the way we have to look at. It's great for governments, the technological advances that we're facing, because it helps us put together public laws that are more inclusive. but clearly data has to be guarded. Diverse user base. We have to make sure that people come online, as I said, and they take advantage of all these services that government services are putting out for them. And as I said, cost barriers. We have to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. In regards to opportunities, one study from CEPAL that was done to Costa Rica noted that if we manage to digital transform one industry from the government, one sector from the government, we could be saving more than 3% of the GDP. If we manage to do it across the government, we'll be saving more than 8% of the GDP. And us by law have to invest 8% in education from the GDP. So if you look at it, if we manage to digital transform the government, that alone could be paying for education. So that is clearly a great advantage. For SMEs, for small and medium companies, the digital transformation also becomes a great opportunity for them. They can be more accessible to the world. So this is also a great advantage. And again, as I said, education. Costa Rica has been investing for many, many years on education. We abolished the army in 1948 and focused our resources on health and education. And the fact that we can now bring a digital education to the Costa Ricans is great. We're currently working on a program where we want to bring English to rural areas via virtually. So this is also a great opportunity that now is presented to us. And again, as I said, all this has to be looked from a security point. Cybersecurity has to always be there. We have to make sure that whatever program we're putting together, cybersecurity elements are included in the architecture of that program or of that infrastructure.
No, I think that's exactly right. I think as we seek to close the digital divide and increase financial inclusion, digital inclusion, the importance that security is baked in, that it's seamless, it's fast, it's quick, and it doesn't put more vulnerable populations at risk from fraud, cybercrime, et cetera. And it's upon us to get together to get that baked in and built in from the get-go, so consumers don't even have to worry about that. That they can operate in the digital economy with security, safety, and soundness, and that peace of mind. So it's important. I know when you were you spoke a little bit about the importance of investing in the cybersecurity for small and medium-sized businesses. It's an important part of the digital economy, and so much of it connects so much, and there's just it's one of the, if you look at the digital economy, it's one of the weakest links that we see globally. And just kind of curious, some of the strategies, initiatives you have to tackle this cybersecurity for small and medium businesses. I know we're part of big NGOs like the Global Cybersecurity Alliance do offer free tools to small and medium-sized businesses. And how can those free tools, accessibility of tools, get in the hands of small and medium-sized businesses? So curious your holistic strategy and initiatives to do that comprehensively.
So I can give you a good example that we're running right now in Costa Rica. So as I said, we're lucky enough to have a number of very important multinational companies with operations in Costa Rica. And just to mention two examples. So we spoke with Microsoft and Cisco about this, and we asked them, because all these companies already have programs within their platforms as to how can they help SMEs. And one of the things that we're doing in collaboration with the academia, specifically an institution called the National Training Institute, they're responsible for graduating most of our technical students, or Costa Ricans with a technical degree or certification. So one of the things that we're doing with them is we're running a program. Right now we started with 50 companies that they had to apply to get a training, very intense training. It's 8 weeks where they have to go through, and it teaches them the basics of cybersecurity within their organizations, within SMEs. What are the basic things that they should be looking at? What are the security tools that they should be implementing? We got more than 50 companies that wanted to be part of that. We're looking at finishing this one and then increasing the quota and bringing more companies in. We're also doing this with AI. You mentioned AI. One of the concerns that we have right now, that I have, is how AI is coming to play into cybersecurity. How all the analysis and everything that AI brings is going to change cybersecurity. And then we're also looking at quantum computing. What's going to happen with the cybersecurity keys? What's going to happen with all the standards that cybersecurity now is using, or protocols? Quantum computing comes to switch all that or change a lot of that. So again, and this is a great problem for SMEs, right? Because they are, perhaps they don't move as fast as bigger corporations. So these are some of the things that we are looking at. We are engaging in collaborations with these companies to help us put together programs, customized programs for them. Also, we're looking at promoting innovation, right? Local innovation for them, for looking at customized programs for SMEs. How should we put together a program that tackles more your specific needs when it comes to cybersecurity? So again, these are some of the programs that we're currently running in the country.
Fantastic. In your opinion, what are the primary risks and rewards of the digital era in terms of social economic advancement, and how can nations navigate them?
Well, again, I think digital gap is a big one, right? We, as I said before, we have to make sure that everybody has access to connect to the connectivity, but also that everybody knows how to utilize it, how to make the best of it. As I said, we are embarking on an interoperability strategy. And when we looked at that, when we look at all the sectors, we said, which sector should be the first one that we should focus on? And we said health. And it was an easy decision. Why? Because as I said, health and education are two of our pillars, the Costa Rica's economy pillars. One, and two, because we wanted it to bring quick wins to Costa Ricans. If you go and talk to them about interoperability, they probably don't understand what does that mean. So we said health, and let's bring quick wins so they understand what does this mean. So, you know, again, but again, we go back to the digital gap. We have to make sure that not only they understand what we're doing, but they take advantage of that. Another risk is job displacement. And this is very important because the fourth industrial generation came to replace some of the repetitive tasks that humans were doing. Now we're talking about a different ballgame. AI comes to replace engineers, software engineers, you know, some of those careers that were highly demanded before. AI is going to come to replace some of that. So we have to look into what should be, we have to work along with technology. How can humans or how can technology be a complement to humans? But again, we are walking into a different ballgame. Security and privacy. Again, this is key for us. We've been very vocal on that. We suffered a cyber attack last year, and it hurt us tremendously. Not just from the money that we had to put into to put back the services and get some of that data back, but the biggest loss we have was the fact that we had to stop offering some of the services to the Costa Ricans. For example, the waiting lists at hospitals. We had to reschedule over 150,000 appointments, healthcare appointments, and that brought a lot of stress to the waiting list at hospitals. So that's another risk. And technological dependency. We become more dependent on technology every day, and we have to make sure that societies become more vulnerable to cyber attacks. So that's another topic that we should be looking at.
Fantastic. What strategies do you recommend for fostering international cooperation to strengthen digital security? And you talked a little bit earlier about the importance of investing in cyber capacity around building the cyber workforce for the future. It's a challenge, it's a gap that both the public, private sectors were all facing. So kind of curious, yes, on what are initiatives underway to build a pipeline, because there's so much economic opportunity. There are so many technology STEM, there's so many technology jobs that are vacant and empty. And so just curious your thoughts and initiatives in Costa Rica to expand the workforce. And then again, the question around fostering international cooperation, where are those opportunities?
Well, clearly the collaboration with other nations, other countries is key for Costa Rica. And a great example is the collaboration that we're running with the US on cybersecurity. They're helping us launch the cybersecurity strategy. The help, I always like to emphasize on the fact that it's not so much the money that we're given. Clearly, I don't want to sound ungrateful. It's great. But it's more the experience that we are now having via some of the best agencies of these countries. They're sending some of the best talent to Costa Rica. to help us, to teach us what should we do, to help us understand what's the status of Costa Rica's institutions, so we can build on top of that. So leveraging from other countries that are leaders in this, in whatever industry, is one of the elements that you should focus on. I also want to highlight Spain also came to our rescue, and other governments and companies. Again, I'll use the example of Microsoft. Microsoft has an operation in Costa Rica, cybersecurity operation. So when we went through the cyber attack, they came to our rescue. Also with governments and companies to help us generate the talent. As I said, the companies are the ones that know what is going to be the demand on talent, the specific skill sets that will be needed. So we need to leverage from them to teach us, to help us with their platforms and curricula and whatnot, to help us update our curricula from universities or technical schools. Research also, very important. We're looking at opening a center that is going to focus on innovation of different topics. Cybersecurity is one of them. The cloud is another one. So we have to, this is a big task that my ministry has, and it has to do with innovation. Latinos are very risk adverse. I think we were programmed when we were little that, not to make mistakes and whatnot. If you want to enhance innovation, we have to be okay with making mistakes. So getting the experience from other countries or companies is great. And also working on legislation. We're proposing a bill on cybersecurity. And Chile was a country that helped us a lot. They just recently approved a bill on cybersecurity. So we have to make sure that the legislation is there for us to be able to enhance or make sure that cybersecurity specifically is done properly, that institutions are doing what we're telling them to do, where the Agency of Cybersecurity is telling them to do, and that there are repercussions if you don't do it. So harmonizing legislation, using protocol standards, as we like to say, as you guys say in English, we don't need to invent the wheel, right? Other countries are ahead of us. And rather than us wasting time on inventing something that's already there, we need to leverage from others that have already walked that path.
Fantastic. So I've been told I have time for just one more quick question before we wrap up here. But wanted to just ask, are there any specific projects or strategies that you want to target in or share with us, or any closing thoughts that you want to share with the group as we wrap up here?
Well, I think Costa Rica right now is going through a very interesting time. As I said, we are digitally transforming our government, and that includes a number of different initiatives that we're running. Cybersecurity is one. We had to learn the hard way, but we're learning the lesson, and I think we're doing it quite well. We also recently put together the digital transformation strategy, which highlights all the steps, if you will, that the government wants to follow through, or the institutions need to follow through when digitally transforming their institutions. We are working on an AI strategy. This is a topic that is in everyone's table, right? And we also want to be prepared for the implementation of AI. Again, I think Costa Rica is going through a very special time right now. Well, coming from ICIT, I think is quite exciting. Belisario mentioned it. It's quite easy, or it's easier to do it when you have the support of the president, when you have the support of the Ministry of Finance, when you have the support of your colleagues. Makes the work a little easier. And again, we have also been very good at doing a lot of things good, at being innovative, if you will, in a lot of things. And technology is one that we don't want to miss the beat. Humans every day interact more with technology. It brings a lot of advantages, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of that. Fantastic. So with that, thank you, Mr. Bogantes. Really appreciate your leadership and all that you're doing to ensure the security and safety of it as Costa Rica goes through its digital transformation. So thank you for your time today, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Brett, and thank you so much, Minister Bogantes. Very insightful conversation. Would like also to take the opportunity to express our gratitude to the people that make this initiative possible. Of course, all the team at the Presidency of Costa Rica, MISID, people that are not here, Alejandro Bando, who is watching this, but also the team here at Venable, our team from logistics, Arlana, Bri, and unfortunately our executive coordinator could not be here with us today, but he was one of the architects of this with Minister Bogantes. But I'm sure like he really will have enjoyed to be with the president and minister. With that, I would like to give the floor to President of Republic of Costa Rica, His Excellency Rodrigo Chaves Robles, and colleague Grant Schneider, Senior Director of Cybersecurity Services at Venable, for a conversation about charting the future of cyber and digital leadership. Please welcome with applause.
Thank you very much. We see. Can you hear through the microphone? Okay, very good.
Okay, can you hear me as well? Sounds like you can. Fantastic. Thank you, Belly. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Brett. That was fantastic. And really thanks. I just want to add my thanks on behalf of Venable and on behalf of the Center for Cybersecurity Policy and Law. We really appreciate everyone being here today. As Belly mentioned, Ari Schwartz, who's the executive director for the center, had a family emergency this week and was unable to be here. But the Center for Cybersecurity Policy and Law really sits at the intersection between cyber policy with government and with industry. And we're very focused on how do we enhance cyber capabilities globally, and how do we push policies that are going to have actual operational impacts on cybersecurity. So you are doing amazing things in Costa Rica. You got to some trial by fire with some on cybersecurity early on, which seems to be more and more common, I think, with nations going forward. But President Chaves, really appreciate you being here today to spend some time with us. Just Belly introduced me, but Grant Schneider, I'm a senior director here at Venable. I spent most of my career in the US government, in the last few years there at the White House in a variety of roles. So we really appreciate you being here today. With that, we've got a couple questions. If you are game for spending a little time.
She gave me a long, how do you say it in English?
Script. Cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet, that's right.
Cheat sheet.
I better be very careful with the accent, right? But I have a long list from the minister, so I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm game.
Well, I want to start with, obviously, as a head of state, you have a lot of different priorities that you're trying to balance for your country. Cybersecurity is one of those, and it's an important one. But what steps do you take, and how have you been successful ensuring that cybersecurity and your cybersecurity objectives are aligned with all of the other national goals that you're seeking to achieve?
First thing, hire the right woman and give it the keys to the car. Second, I cannot conceive any development strategy that does not make sense of how to improve productivity, how to use human capital more productive. You want to add people to the labor force, how you do investment. This is economics 101. And then how do you use both factors of production more productively? And it is inconceivable today. And let me tell you, for all my sins, I'm very old. I remember I hated the time when my mother asked me to go pay electricity bill to the bank. You had to do it in person in Costa Rica in the 1960s and 70s. Then I came to study to the United States and I said, wow, Americans pay by check. And I used to write the check and mail it. Who can conceive today paying the utilities either by check, let alone going to a bank? It's just a matter of productivity. There could be no development strategy without technology, reducing transaction costs, using your time more productively than sitting or waiting on a bank line. In that sense, the productivity and the rate of innovation with just cyber grows super fast. At the same time, your dependence on it grows. It is conceivable today to bring a country's economy to its knees simply by a cyber attack. No payment systems, no doctor's appointments, no WhatsApp, no ways. No ways in the sense of driving, right? So we need to make sure that that fantastic thing does not become a poison chalice from which you have to drink later on. So cybersecurity is an integral part of taking advantage of the tools that make countries more or less prosperous. I like that the minister has it very clearly in her mind. In Costa Rica, this government is not discussing whether to distribute wealth and all these things. We are focused on equality of opportunity. At the end of the day, that's what matters. And this becomes a maker, a difference maker in terms of outcomes and welfare and opportunity of every individual. So I cannot imagine a country that does not conceive, that does not think in cybersecurity terms, because you protect the one tool that is going to create a prosperous society. And then I can give you, you need to understand I can give you the sort of the laundry list, things that you know so much better than I. Engage key stakeholders, understand deeply the digital landscape, establish a national cybersecurity framework and those things. But ministers and their staff are for that. I just, as you mentioned, once burned, twice shy, I believe that's what you say.
Yes.
I'm picking all my old sayings, right? We were burned. I was the first head of state who, in the Latin America region, who denounced the Russian attack on Ukraine. And lo and behold, we were hacked a few moments later. They took our tax system, social security, and the like. So we know that this is even a matter of values and the ability of a small nation to speak out for the values that we hold. So we are all out on it. But the minor details, you have the expert there.
Perfect. And I think, I mean, you're absolutely right that cybersecurity, our dependence on technology and therefore cybersecurity, it's an existential risk to every organization and that's government organizations, it's private sector organizations and it's countries as well. You mentioned that your comments about Russia invading Ukraine that potentially precipitated some of the attacks.
I am saying contemporaneous correlation.
Okay,
not causality.
It happened similarly in time. But I mean, and that's one of the things with cybersecurity, right? It is global. We are all in the same cyber neighborhood because we're all living on the same network. And so, like, how do you see Costa Rica's international role with cybersecurity and working kind of both regionally and even more broadly outside of the region?
Look, we're a small country. We are taking giant leaps given our own history about this. My country abandoned this. I know who said that, who was the former minister whose identity you are protecting, but I have a good idea. He suffered, if it is the person I'm thinking, if he is the person I'm thinking, it's not a she, it's a he. He suffered from a government or leadership at government that said, this is not an important issue. And he knew it was an amazingly important issue. So he pushed, and unfortunately he didn't manage to achieve the right policy. So what can Costa Rica do? Look, we can do a lot. We can do what every country should be doing. developing the human capital that can sit and develop the technology to protect that tool that is so important, that connectivity, that world of speed, and where humans can do what they are best at doing, creating, innovating, not repeating tasks. And in that sense, we have taken bold steps.
Well, and it sounds like you're not just creating the people with the digital skills to run and protect and provide cybersecurity, but also ensuring education, the digital education of the whole nation, so that everyone can be a participant in the digital ecosystem.
Of course, we are a government that believes, as I said before, on equality of opportunities. Don't give me anything, give me the chance to earn it.
Right.
Give me the skills that I need. But we have taken very bold steps. We adopted for the development of the 5G network. We are leaders in that. How do you call Budapest Accord or agreement that says that countries, firms that are based in countries where there are no legal frameworks to prevent, prosecute, and punish cyber crimes would be limited in bidding for those contracts. That's a tough decision.
Very much.
That's a tough decision. I don't need to elaborate on that beyond. And now I have some people in my country saying, well, being influenced by the natural interests that arise with this decision. So we are going to do what every country in the world has to do. First, do the right thing. And that's always the test we follow in government. They ask me, President, is that the right thing? Minister, is that the right thing? And the metric is simple. Does it improve the welfare of people? That's all we care about. And once you adopt a simple metric, you know that you had to sign that decree with the Minister of Technology, because otherwise we're risking the welfare of people.
Right.
And so you become bolder with that, more courageous. We are going to be a very good neighbor first, because forget about it. How you call them? Gigabytes, ransomware. They know no borders.
Yep.
They have no borders. I can even fake where we are attacking you from, and it would take, very specialized and scarce skills to know where we are being attacked from and by whom. It's a world of anonymity and obscure. So you have to make sure that you don't become the weak link as a nation in the cybersecurity of all other nations. Because if they come easily through there, then they can come to the United States in the SWIFT system. Can you imagine that sort of terrible scenario where SWIFT and transfers and your money is not being deposited? So we want to be a role model. We want to develop the technological infrastructure, the human capital, the legal framework, and that's what we're doing. We are also asking people to come invest. We are asking for cooperation of the United States of America on creating a cybersecurity center for excellence. We want the CHIPS Act to move a bit faster. It's moving.
There's many things we would like to have move faster.
Moving
here,
all
yes.
technology. So, but we are here and we are going to do the right thing as a good society aligned with the values of this great country.
Well, and you mentioned we're interconnected. We're all cyber neighbors or digital neighbors in some way, shape, or form. What do you see as some of the biggest both challenges and opportunities from an international cyber cooperation? What are the things that others can do to help Costa Rica? What are the things Costa Rica can do to help others? And how do you think we can work well together?
I think you have to, I like to break things on very basic blocks. The first thing is the opportunities are not in cybersecurity or not. The opportunities are in the connectivity and the new tools and the new tools that technology brings to people. The challenges have two dimensions. The Luddite, use that word in English?
Yes.
Luddite challenge was a weaver, right? Mr. Ned, I seem to remember, right? Where some people get behind progress and they resent that. I think that the great moderation, if you look at the economic history of at least the Western world, the period in the early 2000s to 2000s and 20s and so on, was a period of incredible growth in wealth, but some people were left behind. And it deteriorated income distribution and the like, and this phenomenon of a rising tide not lifting all boats created resentment and momentous political change in many countries in the world. Not all of them positive changes. So there are some people out there saying, wow, those people in technology, those who have the skills, they are eating my breakfast. And that creates a pushback.
Right.
I don't think we are going to start burning computers as they did with the weaving machines or whatever, right, they called them, nor that they're going to be, I hope not, hung for doing that, right? So that's one. There's a lot of skills that will be destroyed. I don't imagine myself as a speech writer somewhere opening a chat GPT, give me a speech for a cybersecurity conference. I can tell you.
That's not where your talking points came
No.
from tonight, just to be
I
clear.
have that one. I think I would sound much smarter with that, right? So that's one thing. Even medical doctors may be replaced eventually and the like. So that's something we have to make sure that we allow people who, by virtue of technological change, are not going to be able to adjust themselves and remain as important, as productive, and as valuable in society. And that is a big public policy challenge. The second challenge is, how do you protect that valuable instrument? How do you protect, once you take care of everybody, hopefully, as much as you can, how do you protect the technology itself? How do you protect the information? Somebody said knowledge is the oil of the 21st century, right? We need to make sure that that information, not only the information, the processed information that turns into real knowledge, it's not just the 1 zeros, right? It's the knowledge that creates is protected. Your identity is at risk. You could be, in today's world, you could be wiped out of society for a while.
Right.
So we cannot keep investing in that unless, in fairness to people, at the end of the day, the ultimate purpose of public policy, in the welfare of people, in fairness to those people, we cannot continue using technology, digital recognition, banking transfers, how you call this, electronic wallets where you keep all your assets.
Yeah.
If you are not providing the basic security for that knowledge and information. So that's the biggest challenge. We have to move. And I'm an economist for all my sins. And I remember taking a class with one of the smartest professors I ever had. And he became famous for doing something called regulatory dialectic. It was about the banking sector. He said, the regulators are not as well paid, I think so, than the bankers. And they have to be reactive to the creativity of those guys wanting to violate the rules. Aren't we in the same situation? Aren't we, when we're trying to protect that information, we are competing with very bad guys that have no public oversight, no NGOs talking about them, no congressional reports, not in our case, the general controller of public expenditure and public tenders. This is a little bit of, unfair fight where the protectors of the system have to react very fast and in a sort of in a dialectic way with the bad guys. So we need to create those rapid structures within government and in the private sector, but government as the regulator. The private sector will take care of itself, but the government, the one that produces the public goods, such as the regulation, the rules of the games for everybody, the basic infrastructure, and the laws. We need to become faster. That's a huge challenge.
How do you see a lot of innovation that is happening in the private sector, right?
Fantastic.
How do you see that public-private partnership, and what can private industry do to help the government, help the regulators do their part? And how do you think we can work that together to be more effective?
Look, our government is not one of public versus private sector. It's neither or, has to be together. The effort, to me, it's very clear that the public sector has to provide a nourishing environment for the private sector, the good guys in the private sector to flourish and generate knowledge and innovation, and has to provide the elements that anybody as a private business cannot provide to the protection of the system, such as the use of violence, applying the law, the courts, and the like. So that conversation, that telling us ahead of time, look, forewarned is forearmed, right? Tell us, where do you see the risks? What can we do? What do you need in terms of coordinating with other, even private sector actors? What do you need to coordinate with the United States government or with the European Union? What is our role? And that's the best we can do. Allow you to create innovation in a safe and sound way so that people prosper. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Oh, I think it definitely makes sense. I know we're close to time, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. Any last words that you'd like to leave the group with?
I have 52 pages I have to read right here.
Pick the right one. Pick the right one.
I'm just joking. Look, first, it was a great experience to come here. Thank you very much for inviting us. I think that at the end of this conversation, I hope that we have a better common understanding of what we are trying to do. I hope that you identify Costa Rica as a trusted partner in this. We are doing the right thing. In that sense, we take the CHIPS Act as a sign, slow one, but a very important sign. And I look at my dearest friend, the ambassador of the United States to Costa Rica. I think that we need to continue working across countries and within the private and the public sector, because it is simply impossible to conceive the world without technology. Therefore, the functioning of that world without protecting that technology is simply a fool's dream. It's a foolish notion. I'm delighted that Costa Rica is going to be chosen, or was chosen, to host the LATAM CISO. Is that right? Or CISO Summit. You will be welcome there in September this year. And it's easy to talk, but this is a managerial job. I think that when people start talking beautiful things, the question is, why you do something, what are you going to do, and how you're going to do it. We don't need to convince each other that on the why. And I'm cheating on, what is this guy? Simon Sinek, I think he has a talk like that. The why, we are already sold. Let's talk about the whats, the hows, the whens, the with what resources, and let's put some deadlines to get things done. But that would take a little bit longer. Thank you very much, Grant.
Sir, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. If everyone would join me in thanking you. And then I think Belly's going to tell us what happens next. So thank you.
Thank you
very
so much. Mr. President, we would like to invite you here or wherever you feel comfortable. We're gonna open for final closing remarks if you have any. If not, we open the floor to the press and to the questions, whoever you want to do it.
I already said every kind of smart
Okay.
thing I could have said about it.
So we have a few minutes for questions. If the press or the audience have any. And please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Nestor from the Embassy of Guatemala. I would like to hear your remarks on what would be the future for the relationship between cyber transparency and democracy.
Oh, that's a deep and philosophical question. Look, my grandmother used to say that the best disinfectant in the world is the light of the sunlight. Anything that has to do with more transparency, anything that has to do with more ability of individuals to communicate with each other is good for democracy. Are there fake news? Absolutely. Has the world seen fake news in the past on print? Absolutely. The press has been used as a political instrument for years. There have been fake news since probably the Greek times, even before. I do believe that humans are better off today being able to communicate with each other through WhatsApp, through TikTok, maybe the country, but anyway, through TikTok, through Facebook, and to X. Some more credible than others, and people will need to have the ability to discern and process the huge amounts of information, opinions that are coming. But look, I won an election after being 36 years away from my country, only a year and a half after I came back, no political party, no money to run a campaign. And how did I win? Through social media. Whether you like Milei or not, how is he doing it? Through social media. So I'm a big believer that democracy and human beings in general will be benefited by the good of technology and ability to communicate, notwithstanding the fact that there are evils in there. But that's true in every human endeavor. How many times, take a pen. You could write beautiful poetry with it, or the worst, most offensive statements. It's not the instrument itself that is good or evil. It's us. So, all for it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Mr. President, Maggie Miller with Politico. Thanks so much for being here today. I want to ask you about the financial assistance for cybersecurity that the United States has given Costa Rica. I know $25 million from the State Department, recently another investment by U.S. Southern Command. Can you talk about how those funds are being used and whether the U.S. might be able to provide more in the future?
On the second question, that's a question to the U.S. Whether they might be able to provide more, I hope so. We are a country that is under an IMF program. We have received 2 Standard & Poor's upgrades in 1 year. We have dropped our debt level from about 68% to 61, 62%. We have cut in half our unemployment and continuously cutting in half our unemployment since we received it. Growth is fantastic. All this to tell you that we're doing the right thing in terms of public policies and fiscal policies, and that means that money ain't plentiful. And in the case of the United States, what I appreciate the most, which I appreciate, I have 25 million reasons to be grateful. But what I appreciate the most is that they agreed to help us implement that money because they bring along the knowledge, they have the transparency of procurement. It's not the same to, we are cleaning up also corruption. And I think it has made a humongous contribution. That type of contribution is what makes the difference for us to take those bold steps we're taking. The same in the drug trafficking world. Costa Rica is the first country that is going to, by February, be able to scan 100% of every container that goes out and comes in our country. And we feel confident doing that because we have a partner, we have no army, and we already clean up all our exports from the Caribbean side, the ones that come to Baltimore and Rotterdam and Bruges and all those European ports. So again, it's part of an ecosystem. You shouldn't just focus on your cyber and let people walk around with these very tragic fentanyl addictions and things like that. So it's a mindset. And the contribution of the Southern Command, General Richardson, whom I admire extremely, and the contribution from United States taxpayer, they may sound small in the world of economic and financial diplomacy, but they're hugely valuable. So we are very appreciative. And in exchange, we're doing the right things. We're taking the tough decisions. I hope I answered satisfactorily.
I saw one question over there. Is there any other question? Can you give the mic right away, because that will be we are running out of time. Sorry.
Hi, thank you. My name is Marcelo. I am from a cybersecurity company in Ecuador. In this evening, we have heard that one of the core things that you're going to do is digital transformation. We also heard that the Industry 4.0 is one of the key things in the growth, and also the importance of new laws about cybersecurity. In this order of ideas, are you going to promote laws of cybersecurity over digital transformation, law of cybersecurity over Industry 4.0, and cybersecurity over SCADA networks, where the critical assets in Costa Rica are? And since you said also that a lot of governments should work together, are you thinking also in working with other governments like Ecuador, for example, to promote these laws in order to have international cooperation in order to fight against cyber crimes?
And the other question right away, so because we're running out of time, the gentleman.
Good evening, Mr. President. It's a pleasure. Sebastián Velázquez, Department of State. So my question is, right now in the region, migration is one of the key issues and affects all the countries in Costa Rica as well. So what methods, plans, your government is thinking to use cybersecurity to manage this situation of migration and to work with other countries in the region?
I couldn't quite understand. Sorry. The last.
Migration problems.
Migration problems. Okay. Okay, let me start in reverse. Migration problems have very little to do with cybersecurity at the moment. Simply the differential in prosperity and quality of life between different countries is so huge that the natural desire of humans to improve their plight and their future makes it very difficult to sustain that gravitational difference, right? You see, if you have a country where the minimum wage is $4 a month, country you know, compared with how much is it now an hour in the States? $15, $20, I don't know. It has been a while since I don't live here, right? That you're not going to stop that. So of course, in the long term, what you would like is to have people achieve a level of, or a living standard where the enormous need to leave the country, 8 million in the case of one brother country or sister country in Latin America, breaks our hearts. So that's a different phenomenon. Now, how do you manage the phenomenon? In the short term, when the kitchen is on fire, will be helped by technology. Because you have 4,000 or 5,000 people crossing the Darien jungle every day. It's terrible. I went there to see it, right? People even committing suicide on their way to the United States because of the difficult situations, right? If we could have a cooperation from Colombia and the technology and the signaling from the United States, how many people and with what characteristics, we who are just a country of passing will be able to manage that flow in cooperation with the rest of the countries emitting, or countries that send people and people who receive them, in a much more humane way, which in Costa Rica is very important. You know that in our country, nobody, whether legally or illegal in the country, would be denied emergency care or delivering a baby for a woman who happens to become due in our country at a time. You just walk into the hospital and the public and the Ministry of Finance will pay for it, right? So in that sense, technology and cooperation would be amazingly useful to treat these people humanely, to achieve the goals of the United States and Canada, which are the recipient countries, and to help those who, unfortunately, have an extremely strong incentive to leave their countries. We are doing it well in Costa Rica, but certainly we could collectively do it much better. As they say, God willing, one day people will not have that need or that desire to leave their own countries so desperately. Regarding laws, if I may, look, we have adopted the Budapest Agreement. They have the standards for prevention and prosecution and eventual punishment for cyber crimes. That's very important. You have to realize that the more countries have those standards and apply them effectively, the lesser the number of spaces where the bad guys and girls can go, bad guys and gals would be the appropriate terminology, could go and hide and operate. There is a negative externality, as economists say. There are negative effects on the others when countries refuse to prevent and prosecute those actions. Imagine conceptually, you have 190 countries in the world today, 189, something like that, that all of us adopt everything so nicely. One country which doesn't causes problems for the rest because of the nature. So the nature of the technology, precisely that connectivity. So we need every country in the world to get to it. But the country today isn't such a collaborative place as one would wish. And there are new geopolitical risks and differences. So how do you say, birds of a feather flock together? We are the birds with the good feathers. Let's flock together. And Cynthia smiles because I'm using all the slang I can. Right?
Okay. I think we'd like to just express our gratitude, Mr. President and Grant, for your excellent moderation. Has been lots of, I think, insights, and it's not usual to have such a global leader like you be so fluent in the cyber and digital. And again, I encourage you.
No?
We will do it in Costa Rica. The only very respectful ask that I ask you on behalf of our alliance members, AWS, Cisco, CrowdStrike, Cloudflare, Trend Micro, Free Attacks, Google, Mastercard, Nesco, Palo Alto, Tenable, Trellix, and a few more that are joining soon, is that you share your energy, your knowledge, and ask the other leaders to share these common values on the as we do on the physical space, on the digital space too, to work with like-minded nations, with like-minded companies, as Costa Rica is doing. I think you are setting an example in many ways on the digital and cyber ecosystem, and just congratulations to you, to Minister Bogantes, and yeah, to all your team. Just sometimes doing the right thing, it's difficult. It takes time, but we're positive that in the coming months you're gonna be like enjoying really good results. With that, we close, and thank you so much for joining us today, and pura vida.
Pura vida.
Thank you.